So on March 20, 2026, the 8th and the penultimate episode of the amazing digital circus had its premiere on YouTube. And I don't really need to explain to you what this show is. If you've been on the internet, you have probably heard about it. Anyways, the episode itself was amazing. Easily my favorite episode of the show. Many people liked it as well. It had a fun and energetic song. Finally started answering some questions. It gave us the Kane's crash outs that the show was building up to for a while and had such a holy shit cliffhanger ending. It all around felt like a great climax for the show with one final episode remaining, and apparently, according to Gooseworks, it's gonna be over an hour long. And in the credits to the 8th episode, we were told that the 9th and the final episode of the amazing digital circus will release on June 19th on YouTube and Netflix. Yeah, fucking about that!
Sybil just swore, so that means Kane really is gone.
How could you completely delete him? Are you crazy? Huh, of course you're crazy!
As I'm writing this, it's been 2 months since episode 8 premiered and we are only 2 weeks away from the final of the show premiering in theaters, and saying that this wait in between episodes wasn't mentally draining for normal fans of the show, such as myself, would be a lie. I have never seen a fandom and a show lose its reputation so quickly and so much, to the point where people are calling it the worst fandom of all time now. And what the fuck happened? I quickly wanted to summarize what the hell on earth this fandom has been for the past few weeks for pretty much everyone involved with this show in any way possible, so, buckle up. Let's start with the first thing that started this whole string of controversies. After episode 8 premiered, someone found something very interesting. Cinemark website started showing The Amazing Digital Circus screening titled The Last Act, combining episodes 8 and an upcoming 9th episode into a full hour-and-a-half long movie that will premiere in theaters on June 4th. Over 2 weeks before the YouTube release. People were quick to ignore that and interpret it as just a stupid mistake or a prank on the Cinemark website, but then Regal Cinema started to have that movie in their upcoming releases list as well. And then Cineplex. And then Look Dine-In Cinemas. And people were still somehow skeptical and wrote it off as just a big prank that apparently happened on websites of every theater chain in America for some reason. Then the poster got leaked. And people were still calling the poster AI and thought it was just some elaborate prank that happened for some reason. Then the cinema started selling tickets. And I still somehow fucking saw people skeptical about it. I don't know why. And then 2 hours before Glitch said anything, cause they were pretty quiet about it, a trailer to episode 9 got leaked because one of the theater chains put it on their website. The trailer was very real, so that's when people started to realize, wait a minute, maybe Bash actually did 9/11. Anyways, few hours after that, trailer got released publicly and Glitch announced that the movie will be releasing in only USA, Japan and Latin America. And if you want to see it released in the rest of the world, then that's on you. Glitch needed their international fund to contact their cinema chains and beg them on their knees to release the epic Pomni show in theaters in their countries. And as you can probably guess, this whole theater release idea was a little controversial to say the least. On one hand, this is something truly inspiring, the fact that TADC managed to pull off so much to the point that the final of the episode of the show, not the episode, that the final of the show is gonna play in theaters internationally is just unbelievable. Sure, BFDA did a similar thing, but it was just some of its episodes premiering in select theaters only across the USA, but the TADC shit is like on such a fucking bigger scale, it's insane. Too big, some might say. You see, people were also upset by this decision cause not everyone will be available to watch the final when it releases on June 4th and will probably have to wait 2 weeks trying to avoid spoilers before they could be watching it on YouTube. Or better yet, the movie itself would be leaked to them somehow on social media and would spoil it to them without their consent. Or even better yet, the movie would fucking leak 2 weeks before it actually fucking released in theaters! And the other thing people were also not happy about is the fact that they would need to contact their local theaters to get the movie screenings in there too, instead of Glitch doing this themselves, creating a lot of stress for the fans of the show, including me, over if the premiere will actually happen or not. And I kinda get that for both parties. Like, I get that Glitch wanting their fans to contact their cinemas was a decision probably made by them in order to make sure they are not leaving anybody out and know where the market for this release is. And like, I understand that, but at the same time, I don't really think this is something that your fans should be in charge of, especially if they have tendencies to throw tantrums. Anyways, this whole theater situation was very stressful for me. I was praying for like 2 weeks that the release will come to Poland, and while I was in like a 20 hours long bus ride, because I was on a school trip, they announced that the ADC will premiere in Poland as well as in a lot of other European and Asian countries, so now I was sure it was gonna premiere in Poland across the whole country, which was cool and all, but I would still need to figure out how, when, and with who I will watch the finale with. But before I start talking about that, there was something else that happened on the same night as they announced that the circus is coming to town. My town. By saying town, I meant Poland and Europe. That's not a town, that's a country and a continent. I don't know what I'm talking about. You see a clip from 2019 resurfaced of Ashley Nichols, voice actor of Zubul, and Michael Kovac, voice actor of pretty much everything, and also Jax, playing Jackbox together. Mainly that shirt fashion minigame, you know, the one when you like draw shit on a shirt. That's like one of the more boring games, but whatever. And on one of these shirts, they had this word on it. And they started laughing like a pack of hyenas at this because, oh my god, this word sounded like a slur. That's so fucking funny, it makes me want to merge without looking. Genuinely, rewatch this clip. They acted like 5-year-olds over this. They were laughing at this non-stop for like 2 minutes. The fuck? The joke was not that funny. It wasn't even a joke, it just sounded like a slur. What are you, Beavis and Butthead?
It's not that funny, butthead. So one word sounds like another word. Big deal.
Anyways, Michael Kovac also said the N-word during that. And I mean, his joke was that the word he said sounded like the N-word, but it wasn't really quite the N-word, and like, I guess, bro, but I don't know. If you use it as if you were using the N-word and you made it sound like the N-word, and if you were to replace the word you used with the N-word in the sentence and nothing would change, then what's really the difference? That it's written differently? I don't think that really matters when you're saying the word out loud. Anyways, what they did, in my opinion, was pretty fucking bad, but I can't really speak on if I forgive them or not or anything like that, because I was not the group that was affected by them, so it's not really my place to do so. I'm sure they are probably not the same people now. That was 7 years ago after all, but it doesn't really change the fact that they were grown-ass people that should have known better, man. That also doesn't change the fact that I really hate how internet spaces nowadays act like people don't ever change, and like the joke they did fucking 7 years ago somehow shows what kind of person they are now, which isn't really true at all. I'm not saying people should be like forgiving of them or whatever, I think everyone has the right to not forgive them, but I do think that people should at least acknowledge the fact that these people changed and even apologized for everything. Acting like they never regretted jokes they did years ago feels a little performative and kinda hypocritical if I'm being honest. Anyways, after that, people were starting to address other problems they had with the ADC voice actors, mainly the elephant in the room, which somehow was never addressed before. The people who they are collaborating with, mainly Black Griffon. I'm gonna be real, I have absolutely no idea how this guy still has a platform on YouTube and some sort of fan base, and why is he in Fortnite? Seriously, why the fuck is he in Fortnite? He has a giant history of awful actions that are constantly being swept under the rug, and not many content creators who collaborate with him even try to talk about it. Except for Cyberspark, who keeps defending him, but his opinion doesn't really mean anything, right? I won't really get into details on what Black Griffon did, cause I don't really feel like I'm qualified to do so, nor do I think this is a good video to really discuss it, but I just wanted to mention that his online history includes weird conservative views, following a lot of basically neo-Nazi accounts on Twitter, blackface, and the fact that he ended up marrying a person that he met when she was only 12 years old while he was 22, and somehow despite this shit, Black Griffon still manages to keep a pretty big online presence and still has a platform. How? How? Genuinely, why did we let this happen? Anyways, rightfully so, people on Twitter started to ask about why do people from TADC keep collaborating with him, and the voice actor for Gangle, Marcelenti, who recently worked with that guy on his Gangle song, addressed everything and said that, according to Black Griffon and his wife, he never did anything wrong. But then, people had to explain to her what's the entire context for why people dislike the man, and then she made a new response where she says that she didn't know about the entire situation with Black Griffon and that she will never collaborate with him ever again. I know this probably sounds weird the way she was so quick to change sides, but I need you guys to know just how much every Black Griffon controversy is just not talked about outside of Twitter and everywhere else. People just think he's a normal guy when in reality he's a disgusting human being that bends the truth about things he did and keeps shoving every controversy he did under a rug. I genuinely hope that one day he will lose his platform for good. I don't want stuff like that to be ignored. As I said, I'm not a person that should be going in depth on everything he did, so I highly recommend educating yourself on him, but as a victim, I genuinely fucking hate him. Moving right along, the other two people that the fandom was rightfully upset about were Kitten Sneeze and Jake Neutron. I'm not really familiar with Kitten Sneeze at all, to be honest. Their art always seemed just really annoying to me. I don't know why. Anyways, that's why I'm not really that familiar with their controversies, but from what I can figure, she did a lot of racist jokes like saying the hard R multiple times, being against the all cops are bastards movement, saying something about African brains not being as well developed as European brains or something, and of course, drawing herself in a Nazi outfit. This is all really bad, but I do know she was only like 14 years old while doing this shit. But the way she is responding to people bringing it up is just really fucking weird. Like, what do you mean you were never taught what Holocaust is? Is American education system really that fucking bad? Did your only point of knowledge on who Nazis were was Helsing Ultimate and that's why you draw yourself in a Nazi costume? Like, what? Can't you just apologize and take accountability like a normal person instead of constantly trying to excuse yourself? Or is American school system genuinely that fucking awful that you didn't know what Holocaust was at 14 years old? Also, from what I could gather, most of the TLDC crew had nothing to do with her, so I have no idea why people are constantly mad at them for things Kitten Sneeze did, because these people are pretty unrelated, and Kitten Sneeze only ever did fan music videos, and she only ever collaborated with Jake Neutron. Oh yeah, speaking of him, I'm actually pretty familiar with Jake Neutron's work, but recently it turned out that while he was talking to Kitten Sneeze a few years ago on Discord, he was talking about an SA victim and how it would stain their careers if the victim came about it publicly. And he also drew pornographic imagery with the victim while the person was just 17 and he was 19, which is just absolutely disgusting. I lost all respect I had for him, and that's a shame cause I really did like some of his work, so it's really disappointing for me. At the same time, many of his employees also came out about his toxic and abusive behavior towards them that was private before, and Jake, unlike Black Griffon or Kitten Sneeze, actually suffered consequences for all this and was laid off out of many projects he was a part of, and people refused to collaborate with him any further, which makes me very happy to see that he doesn't get away scot-free after things he did, but at the same time, it makes me mad that people like Black Griffon, who did even more bad things, still get to keep their online persona and don't need to suffer any consequences for anything they did. That just really suck. These controversies and how much they were in the spotlight for the last month definitively stained the reputation of the fandom for the show, and you can probably imagine how stressful and disappointing it was for everyone in the fandom to learn about everything I talked about as these controversies were getting popular and the controversial figures I'm talking about were responding to everything, and I'm still not done talking about every controversy people had with Glitch before episode 9. Jesus Christ. Anyways, let's talk about the theater thing again. April 29 rolled around and the tickets for Europe began to be sold, and other smaller European and Asian countries were announced to have a theatrical release as well, which was very cool. Okay, I will just kinda ramble like a storytime YouTuber for a second, but I wanted to quickly talk about my frustrations, so you guys are gonna listen. You have no choice. I remember that me and my friends decided to go see the movie together, but because we didn't want to have our seats be booked out, we thought that everyone will give me money for a cinema ticket for them, and I will buy tickets for everyone at once, so we wouldn't worry someone will buy a ticket we were supposed to buy while we were in the process of buying it. And I will do that the moment tickets start to sell. The problem was that I was buying tickets for 15 fucking people! And when the tickets started to sell, all the fucking cinema websites began to crash at the same time. And everyone still haven't sent me money for the tickets. And I was also at school at the same time and there was a fucking math test. So it was a little fucking stressful for me and I say fucking a lot because of that. Anyways, when I finished my math test, while barely holding myself together, I ran into the school corridor, pulled off my phone, and I saw that everyone already sent me money for the tickets, and that the websites began to work again. So I quickly bought 15 tickets to the screening for June 6th. 6th? I don't know how you say that. We bought a fucking entire row, and the funniest thing is that this whole thing was apparently unnecessary, cause screenings for June 6th weren't sold out at all, cause everyone was buying tickets for June 4th. So, whoops! I guess that's a whoopsie on my part. In that moment, seeing 15 tickets in my Gmail account, all I could think was, oh my god, we did it. I'm fucking insane. Why the fuck did we do this? Why weren't I more calm about it? Why aren't I calm? Why I'm not calm? I can't even fucking speak properly now. Why am I not calm? God damn it! Anyways, that was my funny story. Did you like it? I hope you liked it. I know you did. You liked it. You sure did, buddy. You loved that story. So when Glitched announced that the other countries will be getting a theatrical release as well, Turkish fans of the show felt pissed off about the fact they have been left out, while countries smaller than Turkey were getting a theatrical release date. And then the screenings for Korea were mysteriously pulled off at the last second. Glitch had to make a public statement saying how they can't really disclose everything that happened behind the scenes and why they had to pull out in certain countries like Turkey or Korea, but apparently one of the reasons why they have done that for some countries like Korea was because the theaters were asking for a raw file of the movie, which would make it extremely easy to have it be leaked, which is something that Glitch treats very seriously and won't allow to happen. I'm gonna be real, even though it would be nice to have an explanation for every issue that Glitch runs into, you guys gotta know that Glitch is a company. They gotta act like a company. It's gonna run into a lot of problems, they gotta sell merch, they gotta not agree on some terms, they can't do everything, and they gotta think about making money, and they don't really owe an explanation to everything they do to people. Most of the time, they are not even legally allowed to do that. That doesn't really mean they like betrayed you guys, but they just gotta act professional and think about making money, because they are a company, and that's the point of a company. I don't know what you guys are expecting out of them. This isn't me saying that they are a corporation, but people are acting like they are either an evil corporation that thinks only about making money and selling merch and has no humanity whatsoever, or that they are just a one guy that is betraying the viewers whenever they decide to act like a company and earn some money by selling merch or whatever. Like, what? And Glitch still wasn't really free from controversies after that, cause on May 15th, they premiered a new show by them created by Rubber Rose called Game Overs, a passion project he has been trying to get off the ground for the past 12 years or so. So to see it actually come to fruition after all this time is really something to be proud of. Even if I wasn't really that big of a fan of the pilot, I'm still glad that it was actually created after all this time. But it's a Glitch show, so people had problems with it. Mainly the fact that people were saying it was male glazy. Because every female character that isn't a joke character has the exact same body type, while the male characters have wacky and creative character designs that are so different from one another. And also, they put their female characters in a bikini for the vast majority of the episode. While I do get the complaint that the female characters have all the same body types, and I agree with it wholeheartedly, it feels like a parody at some points. I hope the show will be more varied in that department as it goes on. But also, I don't like how people are acting like the female body and the fact they have bikinis is sexual on its own. This mindset is kinda also very misogynistic and sexualizes the body of a woman. Why do people act like drawing a woman with boobs and realistic proportions or something like that is sexual and fucking gunbait? I hate the word gunbait so fucking much. But to be honest, there are also some shots in the episode which made me raise my eyebrow a little bit definitively. I don't really think this type of fanservice is really that bad on its own or anything, but I just wish there was more variety when it comes to the female characters and their designs, especially when all the male characters are so cartoony and wildly different from one another. And I wish the show would sexualize Fold more, but oh well, overall I'm just kinda mixed on this problem. All I know is that I really don't like Aaron Hanson that much, he fucking sucks. Anyways, I think Glitch was kinda stupid for releasing this pilot now, in the middle of hype for the episode 9 of the amazing digital circus, cause they are like pretty busy with episode 9 and promotion for it already, so releasing the pilot at this time feels like taking away all the attention it deserves from it. Especially cause the amazing digital circus finally leaked 5 days fucking later! Yeah, so remember when Glitch was saying they pulled back from premiering the movie in Korea because they wanted to prevent leaks? Well, that didn't work.
You know, Peter, I hate to say I told you so, but, yeah! In your fucking face, fuckwad!
Someone in Brazil decided to leak the whole movie 2 weeks before the premiere and people are pissed off. Me included. This isn't something I wasn't expecting or anything, it was painfully obvious it was gonna leak the millisecond premieres in theaters, but I just didn't realize it would happen fucking 2 weeks before the proper theater release. Man, the whole idea of turning the final premiere into a global theatrical event turned out to be a mistake. I realized that this is something to be admired, the fact that they were able to do this is insane, and I understand that they wanted to end their biggest show on a bang and with a gigantic event, but the problem was that this bang was actually a gunshot that started a mass shooting and ended up killing everyone. As much as it's cool on paper, it caused way more problems than it did good. It will be funny to look back on this in the future, but this really made a gigantic mess that absolutely destroyed the fandom of the show. It feels like Glitch really underestimated how much work and stress this will cause, and they were really not that cut out for this. And I can only imagine how the hype for the final would look like if it just premiered on YouTube regularly, and if it wasn't really destroyed by all these controversies. Now, let me finish the video by talking about Gooseworks and a big issue that has been present in indie fandom spaces nowadays. I really hate how the internet and the fandom has been treating Gooseworks recently. I'm not saying I'm defending everything she ever did, I don't have a weird parasocial relation with her like some people do. I'm sure she has some skeletons in her closet, but it feels like a lot of people are attacking her because they just personally dislike her instead of caring if she did wrong or not. I'm also not gonna pretend like transphobia isn't at least a part of the reasoning behind why people care more about hating her than anyone else. There are definitively valid criticisms of Gooseworks to be made, she isn't perfect, but a lot of stuff people say about her are really far-fetched, like she has a nonchalant gimmick or something and apparently that's why she deserves to become a lolcow, like what the fuck does that even mean? Zach Hadel did way worse shit than Gooseworks in its lifespan, but I don't see any of you performative asses saying anything about that because Smiling Friends is funny and not cringe like TADC, which is made by a woman. Ugh. I don't know, it just feels like the internet spaces nowadays are becoming way more hostile and aggressive towards indie creators because they are cringe and stuff. Gooseworks isn't the only one that is treated like that. Recently there was also a drama about Wastelandia and its creator because the pilot dared to be hacking cringe and millennial. Or the Toby Fox drama about him not translating Deltarune in Portuguese. Like, genuinely, what the fuck was that controversy? Why did it happen? What was that? I don't know, I feel like this might cause a lot of people to just give up on art and stuff. People act like the more cringe your art is, the more deserving of bullying you are, and it may discourage people from creating stuff because they are scared that they will become a lolcow if something they make will be cringe or not. I don't want any of you to give up on art you create because of that. I want you to remember how beautiful creation is and how important it is for you to create stuff for yourself without caring about if you're cringe or not. There will always be some fans of your work anyway, and that's pretty cool. You are important and a real person with art that will always be improving, even if you don't realize that. Always remember that, no matter what some people might say or treat you like. Anyways, yeah, this is pretty much everything I wanted to say. My conclusion is that some people are pieces of shit. That's all. But TADC is a pretty cool show. Despite everything that happened for the past 2 months, I am still very thankful for all the time I spent with TADC before episode 8 release happened and everything went down the drain. I'm still pretty excited for the last act and I still have hopes it will be good and I can't wait to see it in like 2 weeks. What? What do you mean it's tomorrow? What the fuck?
Real confused? Oh, what a goddamn shame!